Welcome to another deep dive, everybody. Today, we're looking at a ton of notes and transcripts from Emma's 6-month journey of learning English.
6 months?
Yeah, 6 months. We're to figure out, what worked for her, what didn't work,
right,
and most importantly, what you can use from her journey.
Exactly. And I think what's so fascinating is she achieved fluency in just 6 months. And we get to see exactly how she structured her learning.
So it's like we have a roadmap to fluency.
Absolutely.
One thing I found really interesting is she uses a lot of tools and resources that are really available to everyone. She's doing things like, using Peppa Pig to learn English.
Children's shows are amazing because they're designed to be understood by children.
Right.
So the pronunciation is clear. The vocabulary is simple.
Yeah.
Engaging storylines. It's a perfect starting point.
Perfect.
When you're learning a language.
Okay, so let's unpack this. I think the first thing that's really important is that Emma started with a really clear sense of purpose.
Yes.
A strong why.
Definitely.
It wasn't just like, oh, I want to learn English.
Right.
It was, I want to achieve these specific things.
She had very specific goals in mind. Like she wanted to be able to nail a job interview, enjoy movies without subtitles, confidently have conversations with native speakers. And I think defining those goals was absolutely crucial because it gave her that motivation to keep going when it got tough.
Because we all know it gets tough.
It does.
When you're learning a language.
Yeah.
Okay, so having a goal is one thing.
Yeah.
But how did she actually go from 0 to fluent in 6 months?
Well, the first thing she did was she strategically assessed her starting point. So she actually took an online English test.
Wow.
To figure out, what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses? This allowed her to really personalize and focus on the areas she needed to work on the most.
So it's like creating a really personalized study plan.
A personalized study plan based on what you need.
That's really smart.
Yeah, and for her, I think she realized that listening and speaking were two of the biggest challenges. So she knew that those were the skills she needed to prioritize. And to do this, she committed to a daily 2-hour learning routine.
2 hours a day.
Yeah, I know it sounds like a lot.
That's intimidating.
But she broke those 2 hours.
Wow.
So she focused on vocabulary building. In the mornings, she would try to learn 10 new words.
In his day.
Every single day, yeah.
Wow.
And then in the evenings, she'd dedicate that time to more active skills like speaking, listening, working on her grammar.
So it's about finding a balance throughout the day.
It's not so much about having these huge blocks of time. It's more about that consistency.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get down to how she actually did it.
Yeah.
So vocabulary.
Yeah.
How did she learn 10 words a day? That seems like a lot.
Yeah, she started by focusing on high frequency words, which are the words that you see most often in everyday conversations.
That makes sense.
Research shows that if you master just the top 1,000 most frequent words, you can understand a majority of everyday conversations.
Okay, so target those words first.
Absolutely.
That's really smart. But then wouldn't it get boring?
Yeah, it can. And I think a lot of people fall into the trap of just memorizing word lists, and that gets really boring.
Staring at flashcards.
Yeah, and so what Emma did is she used apps like Anki and Quizlet.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Before we go any further, can you just break those down, how those techniques actually work?
Anki and Quizlet are based on the principles of active recall and spaced repetition.
Okay, what does that mean?
So active recall basically means that you are actively trying to retrieve information from your memory. So instead of just reading, you're constantly testing yourself.
Yeah.
And that makes your brain work harder to retrieve the information, and that actually helps.
So it's more effort up front?
Yes.
But better retention in the long run.
Exactly. And spaced repetition takes this one step further and actually strategically times your review sessions.
Oh, wow.
So the app will basically remind you to revisit words.
Oh, that's a cool.
Right when you're about to forget them.
That's so much better than what I used to do, which is just cram the night before the test.
It's way more effective for language learning. And the great thing is, the app does it for you.
It's like having your own personal tutor.
Yeah.
Okay, and so then Emma was using these apps.
Yeah.
But she also got creative with how she learned the words.
Yes. So she didn't just simply memorize the word and the definition. What she would do is she'd create sentences.
Oh.
Sometimes even short stories using the new words. So it's about understanding the meaning in context.
So not just the dictionary definition.
Exactly. She gave a great example, I think it was. Instead of just memorizing the word abundant,
right,
she would make a sentence, "The forest is abundant with wildlife."
Oh, that's a good one.
So now the word is connected to an image.
Yeah.
It's easier to recall.
That's great. So it makes it less about memorizing facts and more about, like,
Yes.
really understanding it.
Yeah, creating those meaningful connections.
So speaking of making things interesting, let's talk about listening comprehension. Because I was really surprised by her approach.
What surprised you?
Well, she didn't just jump right into podcasts or, news broadcasts. She started with children's shows like Peppa Pig.
That's a really smart strategy, because when you're learning a new language, everything sounds fast, everything sounds unfamiliar.
Yeah.
And so starting with that simpler content, like a children's show, it helps you just get used to the sounds, the rhythm, without feeling overwhelmed.
So you're building a really good foundation. And then did she progress from there?
She did. So she started with the children's shows and then moved on to beginner-friendly podcasts.
Like what?
Like ESL Pod.
Okay.
And she also did this cool thing where she listened to audiobooks while reading the physical book.
Oh, wow. That's great for pronunciation, too.
Yeah, it's like
comprehension.
Reinforcing that, the multi-sensory approach. But I think what was really impressive is she started using this technique called shadowing.
Ooh, what is that? I've heard of that.
So basically, you're listening to a native speaker and you're trying to repeat what they're saying.
In real time?
In real time. You're trying to copy their pronunciation.
Wow.
Rhythm, intonation, everything.
Oh, that's really interesting. So she would use, like, podcasts for this.
Podcasts, audiobooks, even like scenes from her favorite movies.
Okay, so it can be anything.
It can be anything. The key is just to choose material that's engaging.
Yeah.
And at a level that's challenging but not frustrating.
So you have to find that sweet spot.
Yes, exactly. And it's not just about pronunciation. It also helps with, internalizing grammar. Improving your fluency.
So speaking of fluency, let's talk about the speaking.
Yes.
Because I will admit that some of Emma's techniques were a little unconventional.
What do you mean?
Well, she actually talked to herself in the mirror.
Which makes perfect sense.
I know. At first I was like, what? But then I was like,
yeah,
that actually is kind of smart.
It's a safe space to practice speaking without feeling self-conscious. You can just try out different phrases, work on your pronunciation.
Get comfortable.
Yeah.
So it's like your own little personal rehearsal.
Exactly.
Okay. But obviously she didn't just talk to herself.
No, when she was ready to actually interact with other people, she started using language exchange apps like HelloTalk and Tandem.
Those are great.
Yeah, you get
Connect with native speakers.
Have real-life conversations.
Right.
And it's great because you can find somebody who's learning your language.
Yeah.
Who you can help each other.
So it's win-win.
It's a win-win.
But then she also, I think at some point, did invest in online tutors.
She did. She started using platforms like italki and Reply.
Oh, yeah, those are good.
To get that more personalized feedback and guidance.
So even though she's doing a lot of self-directed learning, she's also like, okay, I need somebody to help me.
Yes, absolutely. That personalized feedback is invaluable.
Yeah, for sure. Because they can see things that you don't see in your own speaking or whatever. But then she also did something which I think is really brave, which is she actually recorded herself giving 1-minute speeches.
That's amazing.
On random topics.
It's such a good way to
like practice for public speaking.
Yeah, it's like simulating that public speaking environment so you can analyze your speech, see where you're maybe stumbling, where you're mispronouncing things, and track your progress.
I like that. So it's from talking to herself in the mirror to, language exchanges to even practicing public speaking.
And I think it really just shows that it's about finding what works for you and being fearless in your practice.
Absolutely. All right. So we've talked about vocabulary, listening and speaking.
Yeah.
But what about the grammar?
Grammar. The sometimes dreaded part of language learning.
Yeah.
But I think what's really cool is Emma's approach to grammar was very much about not memorizing rules, but about understanding how to use it in context.
You give me an example.
Yeah, so she talks about how she learned the present perfect tense. And she didn't do it by memorizing like the structure of it. She did it by using it in everyday phrases. So she would say things like, I have lived here for 3 years. Or, I have already eaten breakfast.
Okay, yeah, that's smart.
So it's not about the rule.
Yeah.
It's about how you use it.
Understanding it.
In real life situations.
Okay, but did she use any resources for that?
Of course. She used, the classic Raymond Murphy's Grammar and Use series.
That's a classic.
It's a classic.
Yeah.
And she used online tools like Grammarly.
Oh, yeah, Grammarly's great.
It's fantastic.
For getting that instant feedback.
Yeah, and she would actually write every day. She'd write short paragraphs, and then she would review those.
With a tutor.
With her tutor, get that personalized feedback.
So again, it's that combination.
It is. It's finding that balance between independent learning and when to seek out the guidance.
Okay, so even with all the best resources and techniques, language learning is a journey.
It is.
And sometimes it's hard.
It can be challenging.
So how did Emma stay motivated?
Well, we're going to dive deeper into that in the next part of our deep dive. We're going to explore how she celebrated small wins, how she tracked her progress, and perhaps most importantly, how she created this immersive English-speaking environment for herself.
I'm looking forward to unpacking that.
Me too.
Because I think staying motivated is one of the hardest things. With learning anything, especially a language.
Absolutely.
All right, well, we'll be right back.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we're talking about all things Emma and her 6-month journey to learning English.
And she did it so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, 6 months, that's incredible.
I know. I was really interested in how resourceful she was with just using everyday things.
Oh, yeah, like those vocabulary building apps we were talking about.
Yeah, the Anki and Quizlet. I mean, I know those are popular, but are those just for language learning?
No, they're used for all kinds of things.
Like what?
I mean, medical students use them for anatomy.
Wow.
Musicians use them.
For like chord progressions?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So they use that principle of active recall.
Okay.
And spaced repetition.
Which is basically just making your brain work harder.
Yeah, you're making your brain work harder to retrieve that information.
Right.
And then it sticks better.
But the best part is the app does it for you.
The app does it for you. You don't have to think about it.
It's like a little robot tutor in your pocket.
Exactly.
But okay, I feel like sometimes studying alone can get kind of lonely. And so it was really interesting to see how Emma used the language exchange apps.
Yeah, because that way you're interacting with other people.
Right, so you're not just like in your room with your flashcards.
By yourself.
Like a weirdo.
Okay.
So, and you get to have real conversations.
Yeah, like Hello Talk and Tanthem. Those were the two she was using.
Yeah, and those are great because you can connect with somebody who's learning your language.
Oh, I could find somebody who's learning French.
And then we can like switch back and forth.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
That's cool.
You get to practice, they get to practice.
But I mean, I imagine there were times when Emma was like, I need help.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Everyone gets to that point.
Right.
Language learning where they're like, I'm stuck.
You hit a wall.
Yeah. And so she actually started investing in online tutors.
Okay. So she used italki and Perply, which I've heard of.
Yeah, they're great platforms.
Yeah, those are good.
To find a tutor who can give you that specific feedback.
Right. Because even if you're doing a lot on your own, sometimes you're just like,
you need that guidance.
I need a professional.
Absolutely.
So I thought that was smart. But she also did something which I think is really brave.
What was that?
She would record herself giving like 1-minute speeches.
Yes.
On random topics.
It's a fantastic strategy.
Like, how did she even come up with that?
I know. But it's so smart because it's like simulating that public speaking environment. And so you can analyze your speech.
Yeah.
You can pinpoint the areas where you're hesitating.
Right. Or like mispronouncing.
Yeah. Or if there's grammar.
Yeah.
Mistakes that you're consistently making.
That's really cool. It's like having your own speech analyst. So, okay, from talking to herself in the mirror to, the language exchange to even practicing public speaking.
She really put herself out there.
She did. She really put herself out there.
Which is so important.
Yeah, you have to be a little brave.
I think so.
When you're learning a language.
Be fearless.
Yeah. Okay, but we also have to acknowledge the small victories.
Oh, absolutely. That is crucial.
Right.
For language learning is recognizing those small wins.
I feel like sometimes it's so easy to get caught up in
what you haven't achieved.
Yeah, like, oh, I'm not fluent yet.
Yeah.
But you have to look back and be like,
celebrate how far you've come.
Yeah.
Whether it's finally understanding a whole podcast episode or mastering a grammar rule that's been tripping you up.
Or like having a real conversation.
Yes.
Without like totally freezing.
All of those are wins, and you have to celebrate them.
Because it helps keep you going.
Absolutely.
Okay, but the thing that really stood out to me is this idea of creating an immersive English-speaking environment.
Oh, yeah, that's so key.
And it's something we hear a lot about.
We do.
But I feel like Emma really,
She went all in.
She went all in on this.
She did.
She switched her phone settings to English. She joined online communities.
Yeah.
She was listening to English podcasts in the car.
Yeah.
It's about taking those moments.
Yeah, those passive moments.
That you would normally be scrolling through Instagram.
Exactly.
And turning them into a learning opportunity.
And the more you can surround yourself with the language, the more it just starts to feel natural.
It becomes less of a thing you're studying and more just part of your life.
Exactly.
So what surprised you the most about Emma's approach?
Honestly, it's her ability to stay motivated and consistent.
For 6 months.
For 6 months. I mean,
it's a long time.
It is. It's a long time to be focusing on one thing.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people start learning a language and then they give up.
Yeah, they hit that wall and they're like, I'm done.
Right. But she pushed through it.
She pushed through. And I think it's because she made it fun.
Right. She didn't make it this
chore. This terrible thing.
So it's a reminder that language learning is a journey, not a race.
It is a journey, and you have to find what works for you.
So we've explored a lot of her techniques.
A lot.
And strategies.
It's been really interesting.
It has been, yeah. It's really interesting to see how she kind of hacked it in 6 months. So what's the key takeaway here?
I think the biggest takeaway is that fluency is within reach.
For anybody.
For anyone. If you're willing to put in the work.
Yeah.
And you have the right strategies.
And the mindset?
And the mindset.
Yeah. So Emma's story proved
you don't need any magic talent.
Yeah, right.
Or a fancy
expensive program.
It's
about consistency and being strategic.
And believing in yourself.
Absolutely. Okay. So final thought-provoking question.
What's one small action that you can take today to move closer to your own language goals?
Could be anything.
Could be download a language app.
Yeah.
Dust off that grammar book you have on your shelf.
Watch a movie.
Watch a movie.
In English.
Yes. Anything.
Anything. Just take one step.
That's all it takes.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, keep diving deep. Welcome back to The Deep Dive. You know, we've been going through Emma's journey, and I'm just really impressed by how she made this whole language learning thing
approachable.
Yeah, approachable. Not like these learn a language in 30 days thing. Yeah, those never work.
They never work. It's just marketing.
Exactly.
It's just a gimmick. But Emma shows us it's about putting in the effort, using the right strategies, but also a lot of self-awareness.
Being aware of your strengths and weaknesses.
And one of the things that I thought was really refreshing is that it wasn't about fancy software or some kind of
you need to buy this course.
Yeah, exactly. It was about using resources that are available to everyone.
She used tools that a lot of us already have.
Yeah. I mean, things that maybe our listeners already have.
Right, exactly.
And they just haven't thought about it that way.
Yeah.
So let's zoom back in on this idea of having really clear goals.
Oh, yeah. Crucial.
Because it wasn't just I want to learn English. It was
very specific.
Specific things.
She had this picture in her mind of what she wanted to achieve.
What does she want to do?
Well, she wanted to nail a job interview.
Oh, yeah.
She wanted to be able to watch movies without subtitles.
And she wanted to be able to confidently talk to native speakers. So these weren't just vague wishes. They were very specific and tied to real life situations.
So it was almost like she had this mental map of where she wanted to go.
A roadmap.
And the goals were kind of like her compass.
I love that analogy.
I think that's really important for anybody learning a language.
Yeah, you have to define.
Those.
Whys. How are you doing this?
What's going to happen
if
I achieve this? Because we all know it can be hard. And you're going to have days when you're like,
oh, absolutely.
I don't want to study today.
You lose motivation. And you're like, why am I even doing this?
It's those goals that are going to bring you back.
Pull you back in.
And be like, okay, this is why I'm doing it. And also this idea of celebrating the small wins.
So important.
I think we forget to do that.
We do.
Sometimes. It's so easy to be like, oh, I'm not fluent yet.
Yeah, you focus on, but like, look how far you've come.
Exactly.
You can understood a whole podcast episode.
Yes.
You finally figured out that grammar rule.
Yeah.
That's been tripping you up.
You had a conversation.
Yes.
And you didn't, like, completely freeze up.
Those are all wins, and you have to recognize them.
It's like giving yourself a little pat on the back.
Exactly.
Like, good job.
You're doing it.
Keep going. All right, so we can't end this deep dive without talking more about immersion.
Immersion, yes.
Because I think it's something we hear a lot.
It's key.
But Emma really,
she took it to the next level.
She took it to a whole other level.
Yeah.
So what was she doing?
I mean, she was switching her phone settings to English, joining online communities where everyone was speaking English, listening to English music and podcasts during her commute. So it's really about taking those everyday moments and turning them into
a learning
opportunity.
Oh, it's brilliant. Okay, so as we're wrapping up here, what's the one thing you want our listener to walk away with?
I think the biggest takeaway is that fluency is possible for anyone.
You don't have to be.
It's not this magical ability.
And you don't have to be like a genius.
You just have to be willing to put in the work, the effort, have the right strategies.
And the right mindset.
And I think Emma's story is proof of that.
It is. She didn't have any special advantages. She just had a vision, a plan, and she believed in herself.
Yeah, and that's what got her there.
That's what got her there.
So as you're on your language learning journey, be kind to yourself.
Absolutely.
You know, you're going to have challenges.
You're going to make mistakes.
But that's all part of the process.
That's all part of it.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Find what works for you, celebrate those victories, and remember,
every journey begins
with one step.
With a single step.
Yeah.
So what will your step be today?
What will you do today to move closer to your goal?
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning.
And keep diving deep.
See ya. All right, so we're diving into this 30-day English learning plan, and wow, it claims to take you from beginner to, get this, advanced in just a month.
That's a pretty bold claim.
Right. Ambitious.
Yeah.
But if it works, how cool would that be?
It is. It is ambitious. But you know what caught my eye?
What's that?
The way it's structured, you know? It lays a strong foundation first, and then gradually builds up, you know, to those more complex ideas.
So it's not just like cramming vocabulary.
Exactly. It's more about like developing actual fluency that you can use in the real world.
Okay, so speaking of foundations, week 1 starts strong. Day 1 is all about goal setting.
Oh, yeah, goal setting.
Now, you might think, oh, goals, I already know what I want. But I'm sure you've heard this before.
Oh, yeah.
Research shows that learners who actually set, like, specific measurable goals, they make way more progress.
Makes sense. It's like that commitment, putting it out there, right?
Right. And the plan even gives you, like, a sample goal to start with.
Yeah. Oh, what is it?
Mastering 10 common phrases for greetings and introductions.
Okay, so pretty simple stuff.
It sounds simple, but think about it. Like, within the first day, you could be greeting people, introducing yourself in English, like, confidently.
Yeah, that's a quick win. I like that. Boost that confidence early on. Get you motivated.
Exactly. Okay, so you've got your goals, right?
Check.
Day 2 jumps into vocabulary. 50 essential words, most of them are everyday verbs.
Okay, verbs, action words. Got it.
But it's not just a boring list, which I appreciate. They give you sample sentences.
Oh, I like that.
It's one thing to know a word, right? But it's another to actually see how to use it.
Totally. Context is key. Like, how do you actually use that word in a sentence?
Exactly. And that leads perfectly into day 3, which is all about the present simple tense.
Okay, the present simple, that's a fundamental one.
Oh, yeah. And the plan, it encourages you to, like, explore YouTube. You know, find those visual learning resources.
Visual learning. Yeah, that can be really helpful for a lot of people.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And even if you think, oh, I know the present simple, I bet those resources can, like, solidify your understanding, uncover some new nuances.
Yeah, you might be surprised what you pick up.
Totally. Okay, days 4 and 5, this is where the fun stuff comes in. Listening and speaking practice.
All right, the interactive stuff.
Exactly. They suggest watching short videos.
Yeah.
You know, beginner-friendly ones.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, and with subtitles.
Ah, subtitle.
It's a great way to connect what you're hearing with what you're seeing.
Makes sense.
It's like training wheels for your listening skills.
I like that analogy.
And when it comes to speaking, They encourage you to record yourself.
Oh, record yourself.
I know. It can feel a little awkward at first.
It can be.
But honestly, it is so valuable.
In what way?
You start to notice like patterns in your pronunciation, your fluency.
You become more self-aware.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that self-awareness is crucial for improvement.
You can't fix what you don't know you're doing wrong, right?
So true. It's like having a language coach in your pocket.
I like that. A pocket coach.
All right, so day 6, you get to practice reading. They suggest simple stuff like children's books.
Oh, children's books. Yeah.
Or like beginner vlogs. No shame in starting small.
Of course not. You got to build that confidence.
Right. It's about finding enjoyment in the process too,
Make it fun.
Exactly. And to wrap up week 1, day 7 is all about review and repetition.
Okay, review and repetition. That's key.
So important. They suggest writing a short paragraph about your day.
Using what you've learned, I assume.
Yeah. It's a great way to put those new skills to the test.
Love it. So, week 1, all about building that foundation.
Right. But week 2 is where things get really interesting. We're talking about expanding your vocabulary, working on fluency, and even starting to tell stories in English.
Wow. Okay, so leveling up.
Big time.
I'm intrigued. And they do that by introducing the past tense on day 9.
Oh, the past tense.
So now think about it. You can talk about your experiences, your stories.
Yeah, you're not just stuck in the present anymore.
Exactly. You can travel through time with your words.
I like that. And something else that caught my eye, day 8 actually has you acting out verbs.
Acting them out?
Yeah, like physically. It sounds a little silly.
It does sound a bit silly.
But imagine like actually acting out run instead of just reading it.
Oh, I see.
It would probably be way more memorable, right?
It probably would stick in your brain better, yeah. And this plan, it really seems to get engaging different learning styles.
Yeah, for sure. And that continues in week 2. Like they encourage you to explore all sorts of listening materials.
Like what?
Podcasts, songs, TV shows, even movies.
Oh, wow. So you can kind of pick and choose what you enjoy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I love. They emphasize finding stuff you actually like.
It shouldn't feel like a chore, right?
Learning English should be fun.
Yeah.
Speaking of fun, how about we jump ahead to day 14? They have you role-playing conversations.
Oh, role-playing, like acting out a scene?
Exactly. They even give you an example dialogue for ordering food at a restaurant.
Okay, that's a good one. Very practical.
It might seem basic, but imagine like confidently navigating that real-life situation.
Yeah, that would be a huge confidence booster.
Okay, you be the waiter, and I'll be the hungry customer.
All right. Welcome to our restaurant. What can I get for you today?
I think I'll have the burger and fries, please.
Burger and fries, excellent choice. And to drink.
Oh, right. A large lemonade, please.
Coming right up.
See? And not so intimidating.
Piece of cake. And with practice, you'll be ordering like a pro in no time. Now, week 3, it kicks things up a notch.
Oh, yeah.
It focuses on more advanced grammar and skills.
Like what?
We're talking future tense, conditional sentences. Ready to tackle those?
Ooh, conditional sentences. I've always been a bit intimidated by those.
They can be tricky.
Yeah, but I'm ready to unlock the secrets of, expressing those what-if situations.
Hypothetical.
Yes. And, this plan, they always seem to have some creative and engaging ways to learn it all.
I'm sure they've got something up their sleeve. And don't forget, there's still a big emphasis on reading comprehension and writing in this week.
Oh, right. They want you to really engage with written content.
Yeah, that's so important for developing a deeper understanding of the language.
Absolutely. It's one thing to understand spoken English.
Right.
But being able to navigate written English, that opens up a whole new world.
A world of books, articles, even emails.
Oh, yeah. All that good stuff.
And who knows, maybe you'll discover a love for English literature along the way.
Now, that would be amazing. Okay, so picture this, all right? A month from now, you've been following this plan, doing all the work, sticking with it. Now imagine you're having a conversation with a native English speaker. Confidently.
Wow, yeah.
Could be anyone. A colleague, a friend, even like someone you meet while traveling.
That's a great image. Think about all the possibilities that open up, right? When you can communicate easily in English.
It really is like unlocking a whole new world, isn't it? And not just of language, but connections, experiences. I remember when I was learning Spanish, one of my biggest goals was to have an actual conversation with a local, go beyond just ordering food or asking for directions.
And I bet when you finally did that, it felt amazing.
Oh, it was so rewarding. It's more than just words, It's like connecting with another person on a whole other level.
Absolutely. And that's what excites me about this 30-day plan. It's not just about exercises or grammar rules. It's like a pathway to those connections.
To like expanding your horizon.
Exactly.
So we've covered a lot in this deep dive, haven't we? From those like practical daily tips in the plan to the bigger picture of what it means to be fluent.
Yeah, we've talked about setting goals, being okay with making mistakes, using technology, and celebrating those wins along the way.
But at the end of the day, the most important thing is action, right?
Taking action.
This plan is just a starting point. It's up to you to take it and actually do something with it.
To build something amazing.
Exactly. And to our listener, kudos to you for even taking this step towards improving your English.
Yeah, it's a big step. And remember, every journey starts with just one step. Right?
So true. Embrace the whole process, Be patient with yourself, and most importantly, enjoy the ride. We know with some dedication and a positive attitude, you'll be amazed by how far you come in just 30 days.
That's right. Go for it. Dive in and unlock that world of English fluency. Happy learning.